I made it, baby. Let's frickin' go. 365 days without a single serving of alcohol. 1 year, no alcohol challenge in the books. And look, I'm just a guy that used to be in a fraternity, that went to a party school, that drank a lot, that decided to go on a journey of no alcohol for a year. Not because I had a problem, but because I had a curiosity and I wanted a challenge. So I've already made about 3 videos on this channel, kind of going over, 90 days, 6 months, why I originally gave up alcohol. So I'll leave those in the description if you want to check it out. But in this video, I want to go over my takeaways. It's been a year. I'm also going to drink again, spoiler alert. So I'm not giving up alcohol for the rest of my life, at least not yet. I don't see that. So I want to give my takeaways over a full year from the perspective of somebody that loves to drink, that loves to go out, and has previously had amazing relationship with alcohol. So my first takeaway, and the thing that I've been reflecting on recently over this last year, is I like to party. I fucking love to party. I fucking throw down. I throw the fuck down like that. I get down like that. I love dancing. I like staying up late. I like chatting. I like getting in deep conversations. I like getting crazy. I like being a little bit of a degenerate. Blowing off steam. Releasing stress. I fucking love that shit. Do I miss it extra right now? And maybe I'm a little bit extra hyped up? Maybe. It's been a year. But I've just come to terms with that about myself. And I think I used to hide that. And I used to think that because I was starting a business or focusing on my career that it was not good and I should lock in and monk mode and, throw all the logs on the fire, throw all the things to the side, blah, blah, blah. But I don't need to do that. I'm just coming to terms and I'm realizing that I like to frickin' party. That's the first thing. Next thing, a big takeover is takeaway. I can go out sober fully. I did it countless times over the last year. And I can go out and have fun. I can go out and dance. I can go out and talk to people, meet new people, walk up to girls, get on the dance floor. Matter of fact, there were a lot of times I went out sober, and if you were to look at me and the people in my group, if you didn't know me, you'd probably point to me and be like, he's fucked up. Those other people are not. Like, I can have a good time. I can get wild and weird and fun, but it's still just not the same. Going out, right? Clubs, concerts, bars, that going out classic thing that we associate with drinking, it's just not the same. You do miss, there's just that element. It's just those environments, whether you love them or you hate them, they have a certain vibe. They serve a certain purpose. And for that purpose, which is perfectly conjoined with alcohol, it's great. It does a great job. It serves that purpose. And it's just not the same. And if you sit here and you tell me that you can get there, you can get to that frequency that all the other people that are drinking, I don't buy it. You can still have fun. You can still walk up to people. You can still have a good time. You can still do everything. It's just there's something missing. And to be honest, in the last few months, I've been burnt out of going out sober. Burnt out to the point where I would just rather not go out at all. Other takeaway, this one might seem a little bit obvious, so I won't spend too much time here, but I saved an ungodly amount of money. The amount of times that I went out and spent $0, countless, dozens, waters all night long, staying hydrated, good to go. I would love to tally it up or total it, but I'm not even gonna do that. So point in case, saved an ungodly amount of money. Next takeaway. Lack of sleep is half of the hangover. A huge part of why I gave up alcohol is obviously the hangover, right? If the alcohol had 0 negative side effects, you weren't hungover or felt like shit for several days after drinking, I'm sure a lot less people would give it up, right? But what I found is I would still go out sober sometimes, or I would just have something that happened where I got a terrible night of sleep, or I went to bed super late, and I would wake up feeling hungover. And then it wasn't until the next day where I woke up and I was like, oh, wait, this is how shitty I feel from lack of sleep? And I was thinking to myself oh, I used to think that I felt this way just because of the alcohol. But when I really realized, it's like, no, the lack of sleep has a huge factor into how shitty you feel the next day. Maybe even a little bit of that anxiety, obviously the tiredness, irritability, low mood, things like that. And I think I overly demonized alcohol, and I didn't point the finger enough at lack of sleep. Okay. Another huge, interesting takeaway and sort of frame that I'm going to be challenging and experimenting with as I reintroduce alcohol into my life is this concept applies to a lot of different things, but the concept of your belief creates your reality, right? Which I think is very true. There's, one of the most famous quotes around this is, whether you believe you can or not, you're right, or something along those lines, right? Essentially, if you believe you can do something, you can. If you believe you can't, you won't be able to, because belief creates your reality. So in regards to alcohol, I'm thinking and I'm wondering how much my deep-rooted true belief around alcohol, how bad it is for me, how the hangovers are, how unproductive or how much of a detriment it is to my life. I wonder how much of that is directly tied to my belief, and that if I believe it is to be bad, if I believe the hangovers will be horrible, if I believe that going out and drinking is ruining my productivity, is ruining my life, then it's just going to be all of those things, right? I'm literally manifesting that negative reality with alcohol. Versus how many people are walking this earth right fucking now that believe to the center of their core, without a shadow of a doubt, that alcohol is harmless, that they don't really get hungover, that they're not really negatively affected by alcohol, that there's a perfect balance and interplay in their life between alcohol and making money and having prosperous relationships. And then that literally becomes their reality. And so I seriously wonder how much of all the negatives that I was experiencing at the time from alcohol when I gave it up for a year was simply because I just believed all those things, and so it became. Trippy shit. Next point. I'm really curious to see the pros and the cons and how they really play out with alcohol going forward, because I think we can all stack up a laundry list. We want to do the research, we want to look at things, alcohol is a poison, right? It could be detrimental to our brain. It could be, toxifying the liver. It could be like all these things. We can argue lack of sleep, what that causes, blah, blah, blah. We can argue all these things about why alcohol is bad or the cons of alcohol, right? And we can quantify those things maybe, right? Like the percentage of toxicity to the liver over X amount of drinks, whatever, right? What I don't think we can quantify is, what about the pros? What about the unquantifiable stress relief? Or what's to be said about just the fact that you blow off some steam at the end of the week or at the end of a long month or during a holiday? Like, what is that worth? Right? Is there some sort of intangible benefit that you get from that you can't even quantify, that might, maybe not directly, but make up for some of the cons? And then what's that balance? If we wanted to, let's just say it's super black and white, where it's like alcohol is bad for you, it'll decrease your average lifespan by 5 years. And you're like, okay, cool, understood. Well, what if my life, your life, somebody's life is better, the quality of life is more enjoyable because they're drinking alcohol? Let's say they even live a few years less. Let's call it 5 years, 2 years, 3 years. But if the quality of their life was improved, what is that worth? And I think that's to the individual. And then also, right, kind of along the same vein, what if the stress reduction, just going off this example, maybe that there's another case of this, the stress reduction that you get from drinking alcohol actually allows you to live longer than had you been stressed out, burnt out, wound up by living, this other life, but maybe you weren't drinking alcohol. Not to say that if you don't drink, you're going to be stressed out and you won't be able to blow off steam. Definitely not saying that. There's a lot of nuance here, but just kind of to throw something out there, I'm very, very curious, and that's just a takeaway, sort of a question that I'm pondering here. And I guess last but not least is just kind of my thoughts going forward and what I'm going to try to do. And I think that's the work hard, play hard mentality. I see a lot of people that do that. A lot of people who I even look up to, YouTubers, influencers, entrepreneurs, even like a Joe Rogan comes to mind, right? Where like they just work hard, play hard. They're not like, oh, it all has to be, work, and I never blow off steam, and I never party, and I never stay up late. It's like, no, they just do both. They work incredibly fucking hard. They grind. They do everything that they need to do. They work endlessly, but they also blow off steam, go out to dinners, smoke, drink, whatever. That's what I did in college. And it's not to say that, college is as difficult as the endeavors that I'm looking at now, because maybe that's not the case. Maybe studying for an exam or, going to class or whatever, you could say is easier. But like in college, I just work hard, play hard. And I had straight A's and I partied a fuck ton. Like I just did both. And the other thing is crazy when I think about this is, and I think a lot of people have this mindset around drinking, especially drinking and entrepreneurship and being a high performer or whatever, is like, oh, if I give up alcohol, if I sacrifice my social life, if I stop partying, if I stop drinking, and I stop being hungover, I will then see, this much of an increase in my productivity, earnings, etc. But then it's like, then I think about the question, well, wait, hang on. That might be your belief, but let me ask you this. Is there someone else in the world right now, another guy, for example, who is partying more than you are, who is drinking more frequently and a higher amount than you are, whilst also making more money than you, being more productive than you, having more of the external outputs that you are looking for? And the answer is yes. There's 8 billion people in the world. I am sure there is someone that parties more than you do and makes more money and is more productive and has a better relationship with their wife and has more friends and more hobbies. Like there is somebody, which means that it's not a rule. It's not a fact that, oh, if I give up alcohol, I will be better in these areas. No, that's just a belief. And if that belief is not serving you, should you really believe that? Something to think on. Enjoy the takeaways. If you resonate with anything, join the conversation down below. Let me know your thoughts. Have an amazing day and a great rest of your week. Cheers.